Signal War continues. I am Ngabai. Coming up in tonight's edition of News, Executive Director of Global Fund assures President Kurma of the United Nations support to bring back the country to its Ebola phase. An investors' conference on the ECO1 project in Sierra Leone ends in Freetown. And new Chief of Defense Staff promises the military of improved warfare. All these and more coming up in the next 45 minutes. The Executive Director of Global Fund, Mark Dybel, has assured President Kurma that the United Nations will support his vision and leadership in bringing the country back to track as it was before the Ebola outbreak. The assurance was given when the team from Global Fund and the country's bilateral technical partners paid a courtesy call on the President at State House. Razia Bashkama reports.
Presenting the Executive Director and team, the Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Abubakar Fofana, said the relationship between Global Fund and Sierra Leone dates back to 2002, and since then, the fund has been providing a bulk of funding to support the fight against tuberculosis, HIV, and malaria. He maintained that over the years, Global Fund has become interested in strengthening the health sector, adding that unless government addresses issues of health sector, including light and laboratory, all the investments coming in will be vague, as seen during the Ebola outbreak. The minister informed President Kurma that Global Fund are also interested in the current portfolio for the country that stands at 103 million United States dollars. This, Dr. Abubakar Fofana said, is a significant increase from what they used to receive as support, for which he thanked the leadership of Mark Dybel, and that as a ministry, they have also seen significant shift in policy in the operation of the funding. Briefing the President on the purpose of the visit, the Executive Director, Global Fund, Mark Dybel, expressed gratitude to President Kurma for giving them audience and for its leadership qualities. Mr. Dybel maintained that before the Ebola crisis, Sierra Leone had an economic miracle in leading the countries of Africa in economic growth.
And I've learned that working with heads of state that you do a couple of key points. You don't go through too much because you're a very busy man and you have too much to do. Is the vision for the future, and congratulations and thank you for increasing your own commitment to health over the last several years. It's been very important. But for the long term, there are key pieces that have to be part of your system. And one of them, for example, is the community worker system, which, again, it's been your vision, your country's vision, to say we need that piece. That's what we missed the last time. That's what many countries miss. And that's how you lose control of epidemics quickly. Because thank you for being a champion for the Global Fund replenishment. The more we raise, the more we'll have available to support your programs. But thank you for the vision before and after, the vision for a different approach for your people, for development, and the model that you were and can become again. And just on behalf of all the partners, we're here to assure you we'll stand with you.
Welcoming the Executive Director, Global Fund, President Kurma thanked the team for the support provided to the government by Global Fund, which he said has been quite substantial since 2003. The President particularly thanked the Executive Director for the enhanced support and his show of understanding that as a government they would move on while Global Fund continues to provide support to the traditional areas of HIV, malaria and tuberculosis, and to look at other things that will give holistic support, particularly in the health sector. This, he said, is because if the health system is not strengthened, it will not create the kind of impact that is expected. President Kurma also expressed gratitude to the Executive Director, Global Fund, Mark Dybel, for his quick response when he telephoned him for support, as government was under tremendous pressure during the Ebola outbreak. The president maintained that his prompt response made things happen immediately, which showed how involved he was and the kind of understanding the executive director had manifested. He made it clear that the health sector is very important, adding that government is making progress. President Koroma pointed out that now government's focus is to build a robust health system so that they will be able to respond through an established system that will address those responses. In that regard, the president pointed out that it will require a lot of training, support in terms of strengthening the structures, systems, the distribution of drugs, and the participation of people in the communities, especially where it requires them to take community ownership. President Koroma emphasized that it is the reason why thousands of government health workers at community level is a big project for the government and one that is very close at his heart.
That is why our 10,000 health workers at the community level is a big project for us, and it's a project that is very close to my heart. And we have to do everything it takes for its sustainability. We are happy that you're coming in to come and provide the initial support. And I will assure you that we will ensure a smooth transition, because it has to be owned by the government in the first place. It also should be seen to be owned by members of the community. The lessons we have learned from Ebola is that when ownership is taken at the level of the community and at a national level, it becomes sustainable. And that is the lessons that we have learned moving forward. We have concluded the 6 to 9 months and Ebola rollout that we have implemented. And the results are encouraging. There are still a few issues, challenges here and there, which we hope we will improve upon when we start the 10 to 24 months. But the focus is still around the health sector, because we still know that even when Ebola is behind us, we are still experiencing fatalities that were even more than when we had Ebola. And this is a signal that we have to address, continuously address our problems in a way that will minimize or eliminate.
In another engagement, the newly appointed deputy ministers, Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, and the Ministry of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs subscribed to the oath of office before President Anmarie Koroma State House. The two deputies were presented to the President by the Secretary to Cabinet and Head of the Civil Service, Dr. Suru. Congratulating the newly appointed deputy ministers, President Koroma said they have been selected based on the experience they have and their relevant professional backgrounds, which is the reason why Ms. Rugiatu Nene-Toure is in the Ministry of Social Welfare and Mr. Momo Vandi in the Ministry of Finance. The President pointed out that it is his fervent hope that they will join the rest of the teams in their various ministries to ensure that they give some wholesomeness to the team. He maintained that secondly, they will continue with the drive that government has embarked upon and for which the specific ministries have been given ministerial responsibilities.
You are in social welfare and finance. I hope that you will join the rest of the teams in the ministry to ensure that A, we give some wholesomeness in the team, and secondly, we continue with the drive that government has embarked upon and for which the specific ministries have been given ministerial responsibilities. I can only at this point wish you all the best. Hope that as you start today your journey as politicians in your respective ministries, you have to be mindful that you have a future ahead of you, and it is your performance today that will determine the length to which you will be able to go progress in your political career.
Responding, the Deputy Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Momo Vandi, on behalf of himself and his colleague, Deputy Minister, thanks President Nkrumah for the opportunity he has given them to serve in his government. He also commended the President for the strides he has made in the country so far, saying he is aware of the challenges they face. As such, he intends to work with his colleague ministers and the entire members of the ministry.
An investors' conference on the ECO1 project in Sierra Leone has been held at the Ministry of Information and Communications UE building. The conference focused on the development and management of operational structures of the project's public-private partnership. Abdul Samsise takes up the story.
With the aim of adequately utilizing the capacity on the terrestrial fiber optic infrastructure in the African sub-region was timely, according to the visiting representatives of the conference. The ECO1 Investors Conference, held in the conference room of the Information and Communications Ministry at U Building, attracted representatives of telecom companies and internet service providers in the country. It was to showcase strategies with a view of developing and managing the ownership and operational structures of the public-private partnership. Participants gave out some of their views. The Minister of Information and Communications, Mohamed Bangura, described the Investors Conference as historic for the transformation of the communication technology sector in Sierra Leone. The minister said the landing of the submarine cable in 2012 was made possible with funds from the Islamic Development Bank and the China Exim Bank to ease the limited broadband access as well as reducing associated costs. Mr. Bangura pointed out that pursuant to the financing agreement between the government of Sierra Leone and the Islamic Development Bank for the ECOWAS Regional Backbone Infrastructure and E-Governance Program, which came into effect on the 6th of September 2011, a consultant was recruited to carry out financial and legal advisory for the establishment of the private-public partnership. Senior Associate Director of the project, Jack Akosi, spoke of the pivotal role of the ECO1 project.
With the landing of the submarine cable, government requested for funds from the Islamic Development Bank, IBDB, and the China Exim Bank to develop a terrestrial fiber optic backbone. In order to ameliorate the limited broadband access and reduce the associated cost. Pursuant to the financial agreement between the government of Sierra Leone and the Islamic Bank, IDB, for the ECOWAS Regional Backbone Infrastructural and E-Governance Program, ECO1 Sierra Leone Project.
Whilst the project managing director, Mohamed Sharif, said $31 million is expected to be spent on the project. For SLBC News, Abdul Samsise reporting.
The new Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General John Edison Milton, in his maiden address to men and women of the Republic of the Armed Forces, has said that his immediate plans are to enforce discipline, facilitate peacekeeping operations, and to improve on the general welfare of personnel. He explained more to Judith Sana on his plans to improve on the standards of the military.
First, let me talk on peacekeeping. Peacekeeping is important for us because one, it boosts the morale of soldiers. Secondly, it enhances their financial status. Thirdly, it improves the economy in the country because if they go on peacekeeping, they are paid in dollars and they come back with these dollars, and it will help influence the currency, the dollar, rate in our country. And also, peacekeeping is important in the sense that it puts the country on the map. Most countries now know Sierra Leone because of peacekeeping. So it's a benefit to the soldiers, it's also a benefit to the nation. That's why peacekeeping is important. Accommodation is another very crucial area. If you accommodate your soldiers well, you can have easy access to them. But if soldiers are all over the place, they are civilians, one, you will be having lots of complaints here and there. Secondly, in the instance that you want them to report immediately, it will be difficult for you to mobilize them. Thirdly, you will not get the best out of them, because when they are not accommodated well, it affects, their family life, it affects their output. So it is very crucial that we get accommodation right. I spoke about discipline also. Without discipline, there is no army. Without discipline, there is no army. If the army is disciplined, it will reflect on the society as well. The society will be proud of the army. If you take the British Army and the British nation, they are proud of the army. The United States of America is a proud nation because of the existence of the U.S. Army. So discipline is key.
What about terrorism? You also spoke about it. Let's talk about terrorism.
Yes, terrorism, is the new phenomenon now in the world. Terrorism, cuts across and it knows no boundaries. You can be a small state, you think you are immune to terrorism. You are not. Because even if they don't go after your country, they will go after your allies. For example, we have allies, we have the Americans, we have the British, we have the Chinese, we have, a couple of other countries that have nations, they have their people in Sierra Leone. So if they don't go after us, they will go after those people, and then it will create an embarrassment to the nation.
So what do you expect from your personnel?
Well, I expect them to be, vigilant. That's the first thing. I expect them to be inquisitive. I expect them to discharge their duty with professionalism, because the nation is looking up to us to secure them.
And you said you need more personnel. Why?
Yes, that's a good question. Why? You see, it is because, we retire our men at age 55. Some people go above 55. Depending on the need. And you also will agree with me that I alluded to natural death. So we have natural wastage in the form of natural death. We lose soldiers and we need to replace them. It's just like when they talk about population. There is no need for you to have an aging population. If you have an aging population, it will reflect negatively on the workforce, because you will be having more old people, less effective. But if you have a very young population, then the output will be high. So we need to inject.
Foundation for Islamic Development Sierra Leone has organized a Quranic competition as part of this year's Quranic memorization competition. The competition was held at the Wama School compound at Wellington. Mariama Kano reports.
The Islamic community in Sierra Leone has been coming up with inspiring educational programs for upcoming Islamic scholars and school-going children, especially in the science of the Quran. This is an annual event organized by the Foundation for Islamic Information, Sierra Leone. It is held during the last 10 days of Ramadan. According to the director of Foundation of Islamic Information, Sierra Leone, Abdul Latif Kagbo, the competition is to create a pool of young Sierra Leoneans to take part in international Quranic memorization competitions. Competitors, Mr. Kagbo went on, must have memorized 1/3, half, or the full Quran. For those going for the full Quran are expected to know the tafsir or translation and poems. Principal Ansarul Islamic College, Kisi Dokiad, Sheikh Farouk Ba, who is considered as an expert and authority in Quran, said winners of this competition will be qualified to compete in the national competition, which will be held at the Miata Conference Hall in June. At the end of the competition, Ahmad Wuri Jallo, Ali Mubar, and Mariam Mukhtar Ba emerged as winners and have automatically qualified to take part in the national competition. Program coordinator, the Ahmad Contact Quran coordinator, Foysil, call on the participants to be committed and steadfast in their studies as Islamic scholars. The winners will go home with 3 million leones each, plus mobile phones and an opportunity to represent Sierra Leone in international competitions.
The non-governmental organization coordinating office in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, together with representatives from different NGOs, has revised the draft NGO policy regulations for NGOs in the country. The review is to allow representatives to make inputs before the draft policy is enacted into law. Hawa Mosire reports.
It was a lengthy discussion between various NGO representatives during the review of the draft NGO policy, as they recommended that Slango should be an independent body. The National Coordinator, Slango Shilak Davis, says the ongoing review of the 2009 NGO policy has two main objectives to which they are committed. She said the idea is to strengthen, coordinate, monitor, and evaluate the role of the government. The review policies, she said, will guide program and activities of non-governmental organizations to ensure improved and sustainable delivery of services.
The previous reviews have fully addressed the following issues, such as revenue collection, legislation, trade links, strengthening of the monitoring and evaluation tool and ministry, the updating of mapping tools, harmonization of NGOs' financial transactions, e.g. the non-payment of fees to local councils.
Coordinator of non-governmental organizations in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Solomon Scott, informed the gathering that they've concluded consultations with NGOs operating in the Bombali and Tankolili district. During the visit, they held deliberations with stakeholders and local councils concerning their project implementations. He called on all NGOs to be working in close collaboration with the local councils. Deputy Development Secretary, Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Nancy Tengbe, says government recognizes the contributions made so far by NGOs in various parts of the country. The government, she says, through the Ministry of Finance, being regulate NGO activities to foster smooth operations of NGOs without compromising the principles of accountability and transparency.
With the establishment of a formal system of networking, Slango, as an umbrella organization, will be in a better position to facilitate the organization of NGOs with similar interests to come together on a regular basis for information sharing and partnership purposes.
Irish Ambassador to Sierra Leone, Dr. Sned Walsh, discloses that civil society has a significant role to play in any government in terms of implementation of projects and other activities. She calls on them to contribute immensely to the review process. In another engagement, the Minister of State, Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Dr. Patrick Conte, also briefed representatives of NGOs on taxation. He says in 2015, the government lost over 3 billion leones due to the outbreak of Ebola. SABC TV News Eye in Freetown, Hawa Mosiri reporting.
The acting president, Putloko District Student Association, Saidu Bangura, has called on President Kurma to increase the SLG quota for students in the district. He made the special appeal during the launching of the Putloko Student Association at the Putloko Teachers College at Mafoki Chiefdom. Yvette Jasko compiled this report.
The launching proceeded with a procession from the township through the streets of Putloko district. Local authorities, government officials and human rights activists, including parents, attended the ceremony. Representatives from the constituent colleges including FBC, IPAM, IAMTech, EBK, Jala and Unimac were also present. They promised to improve education in the district, advocating for scholarship in the district. They added that their aim is to ensure children attain higher education, especially those in vocational institutions, to develop the middle-level manpower.
The projects seem to be very interesting and very progressive. Of course, yes, owing to the theme of the program, that the role of students in the development of the local district is very attractive and impressive. And it's having a long way to go in the history of students in music. And also, they have a goal that they want to better the lives of students and lives of local people.
The acting president of the Putloko District Student Association, Saidu Bangura, called on President Ngabai Kurma to increase the SLG quota for the Putloko. He added that their priority is to provide scholarship for students, which they strongly believe will contribute to the development of the district and the country at large. He noted that due to the financial constraint, many students dropped out of school immediately afterwards. The acting president called on stakeholders to help facilitate job opportunity for graduates.
That is why we are here tonight to prepare ways of solving the challenges that pose serious threat to the success of our young men and women in Putloko districts. Providing scholarships for students entering universities and those who have graduated to pursue their career in different areas that will not only contribute to the development of our district, but the country as a whole.
Launching the Putloko District Student Association, Special Advisor to the President and Ambassador at Large Alpha Kanu called on the students to make good use of the country's modern technology to attain education and advised them to do more useful skills that will take the country forward. He promised to support the association at all times. Other political stakeholders assured the students they will uphold the association to attain its glory.
The Rotary Club Freetown Sunset, a non-governmental organization, has supported vulnerable children in the western rural area with food items, furniture, and a check of 35 million leones. The offer was to support the less privileged at Russell and Crafton orphanages, respectively. Maria Madenke Kanu reports.
The Rural Educational Community Primary School has been faced with lots of challenges, including pure drinking water and sitting accommodation, among others, after it was established in 1913. It was due to those challenges that prompted the Rotary Club of Freetown Sunset to support the Rural Educational Community Primary School with furniture worth over 5 million leones. The gesture was appreciated by the school authorities at Russell as Headmistress Rural Educational Primary School Mariatu Bangura thanked the Rotary Club of Freetown Sunset for their support. Ms. Bangura said she was so moved as most of their pupils had been sitting on the floor during their lessons. She called on other development partners to assist them in complementing the unfinished structure. President of the organization, Stephen Kaba, OPEX manager, Airtel, said they saw the need for the donation for the furniture as the school was constrained with sitting accommodation.
We did this donation because of the need in the school. We saw that the school is suffering from desk and chairs. And as Rotary, one of the key things is that we should serve our community and our people. So we thought it fit to donate this desk to the school so that it would aid in the learning process. We have a few other schools in mind. For instance, we're doing a school at Aberdeen. We're planning to do something there also. We've done a few schools. We've done a school at Bobo. We've also done a school at Tembeton. These are schools we distributed radios during the Ebola period and batteries for learning process.
Program coordinator Wara Seri Kamal, barrister and legal practitioner, said they took up the venture because they believed that it is their responsibility to deliver service to the deprived community. A pupil from the Gokel Education rural community expressed gratitude for the furniture and called on the government to support them with feeding program. At Grafton, a cash check of 24 million was handed over to the director of God's Will Orphanage, Margaret Tucker, for the construction of a water well and toilet facility. Madam Tucker thanked the Rotary Club for the gesture, adding that they have been constrained with toilet facilities as the boys do go to the bush to ease themselves. Project coordinator Alex Pratt said there are other plans ahead to help schools at Moritown and are planning to establish an educational medical theatre at the Connaught Hospital, among others.
Okay. With the international one that has to do with the digging of the well, it's a big project. It has to do with building of a kitchen and also in the future to change the structure to cement structure and also the fencing of this facility. So that's, well, this one is just like a start. It's a big project, but we're starting off with the beginning of the well, because the well has to support the kitchen that's going to be built and also the toilet facility that they're going to put up.
If you're just joining us, you're watching news live on the SLBs in Freetown. Up next is business news. Hello and welcome to Business News. Coming up, the foreign exchange rates. The US dollar buys is 5,887 yuans and sells at 6,006 yuans. Pound sterling buys is 8,317 yuans and sells at 8,542 yuans. Euro buys at 6,707 yuans and sells at 6,841 yuans. That's the foreign exchange rate courtesy of United Bank for Africa, UBA. The Sino Import and Export Protection Agency (SLIPA) has ended a 5-day training for stakeholders on supply chain and logistics management to facilitate easy trade. The training was also organized to improve the knowledge of the participants of the Customs Department and private sector. The training targeted 14 participants who were gathered at the Hub Conference Center, Wilberforce. Presentations were made by several consultants, amongst which a PowerPoint presentation was made on how to improve on traffic clarification. Let's listen to the views of some participants as Mariam Adenkekan was there.
Well, we have trained the participants in custom matters and in supply chain management. So I was a trainer for supply chain management, and we have discussed how can we improve the logistic value chain in Sierra Leone. And one of the things to improve is to work together. So collaboration along parties over the supply chain is very important, and we have discussed that. I have discussed all kinds of theories and also how can we apply that theory into practice. And we also played a game, and in the game it was simulated that when you work together, in the end you will have more profit and less costs. So that was the idea of the training.
So how do you think this training will facilitate customs and logistics in the country?
Yeah, of course. We talk about a logistic supply chain, which means that we have several parties in the supply chain that make it happen. And of course, custom is a very important player in that chain. And so custom is a link in the chain. And if the custom procedures can be aligned with the logistic procedures, and that goes both ways. So logistic has to improve on things, and also custom has to improve on things. But if you can align those processes, the flow of products in the country and out of the country will improve, and in the end that will improve the economy.
Well, we have a total of about 14 participants participating in the training on supply chain management and logistics.
Okay. So, at the end of the day, these people have been capacitated. What are you going to do with those participants that have been trained?
Well, very good. That's a very interesting question. SLIPA is a facilitating agency, and we're here to facilitate. So precisely what we're trying to do is to improve capacity. We're trying to improve knowledge in supply chain management and logistics, because these are a critical component of the overall trade facilitation picture. Trade facilitation means moving goods and services across borders. So what we're trying to do is capacitate the private sector to be able to undertake, or rather play a leading role in this area.
Training was so interesting and very, very much pertinent to our own business, because at SLPMC, the supply chain management, all aspects of supply chain, from the production aspect onto the distribution, we cover everything. In as much as our business involves the local and the international market, we also have a lot to do with the customs people, because we have to export our cocoa, our produce, our coffee, palm oil, whatever, to the international markets. And a training organized by SLIPA with the customs people working with NRA and all other stakeholders, we believe it is very necessary for us all to interact and see the challenges that we go through, because they might have their own challenges, we might have our own challenges with them. But as it is, with this training, we were able to go through a whole lot of things. There are things we already knew about, like warehouse management, but innovations. There are developments now in the Western world that we are so much appreciative of, to have those all those creative ideas being channeled into our own system.
We don't count on this trade facilitation. It will make we know more concerning with tariff, how we go classify them, for put the importer them through, the brokers them, so they will know how they go do the entry, the tariff, the different tariff, the way they go use for where then they import the goods, the different tariff, the way they go use for classify them. You see, say that's nice.
Well, that's the business updates. Many thanks for your time. Denisa Kotti.
Many thanks to Judith Sana for a beautiful update. Unknown members of the queer community have visited the National School for the Blind on Wilkinson Road to introduce the organization and create partnership with the school. The visit saw the presentation of food and non-food items to the school. Rose Gunima Stevens reports.
Creole Community is a philanthropic organization with hundreds of members of Creole ethnicity of various walks of life. Over the past few months, they have embarked on humanitarian ventures which have resulted in visitations to various communities in the Western area. The community intends to foster good neighborliness and citizenship. It is against this backdrop that it visited the Milton Ngabai School for the Blind as part of its Independence Day gesture. Addressing the board, members of staff and pupils of the school, the interim president of Creole Community, Samuel Valcassel, says, after considerations and consultations, they decided to visit the School for the Blind because they consider it a partner organization that plays an invaluable role in taking care of people carrying one of the biggest physical challenges. He said at a time when others prefer to feast and dance in celebration, they decided to keep company with the visually impaired.
Inside the few months there, we don't think say we for do we best as a community for ensure that we live up to the purpose where we been created we set for. In name Creole community, that means to say it comes from them people where na the ethnic group them all na Salone, then they refer to that group they as Creole. But it not there no more for Creole people. Na Creole people them people lam. But it not there no more for work for Creole them. It there for work for the entire country. When independence be the come, we think say we for do something. We sit down, some man they think say, well, we for do this, we for do that, we for do that. But plenty people them are no say, una no say, independence at time where people like entertain themselves, not so. Yeah. But we think say, we as a community for care for everyone na the community. Because one of we paramount objective them na philanthropism.
Earlier, Chief Whip of Creole Community, Rudolph Wilson, said they have a wider and broader activity they undertake for people of this nature as they touch the lives of the physically challenged by making such generous contributions to their livelihood. The headmaster of the Milton Ngabai School for the Blind, Didymus Karbo, expressed appreciation over the gesture, noting its timeliness. He called on other humanitarian organizations to emulate the good example of the Creole community, expressing the urgent needs of the school, which include beddings and other items for their boarding school. SABC News, Rosconima Stevens.
Freedom, independence of Sierra Leone, freedom, in April 1961, do ya baby?
A non-governmental organization supporting the disabled and their generation has offered food items on Independence Day. The move is to help empower the persons with disability at Padembe Road on the theme Celebrating Independence with Disabled and Their Children. Here is the report.
Chief Executive Officer of Supporting the Disabled and Their Generation, Ruth Jallo, says the organization advocates for the needs of disabled people so that issues affecting them will be addressed. She calls on other organizations and individuals to emulate them. She encourages them to be patient, focused, and steadfast in their dealings, moreover to engage in family planning. Chairman of Help Empower Persons with Disability, Ishmael Kombagbori, says they are faced with constraints such as access to health facility, shelter, inadequate water, amongst others. He expresses disappointment over certain organizations and individuals who promise them but with an aim to enrich themselves.
To start with, I want to tell everybody thank you. For we they choose it today, for me they celebrate independence. We then for the all provision for we today. We then say independent, it means today for yourself. You can do everything for yourself. But how many disabled they are today? We are afford to family for food. As Salone we celebrated 55 years independent day today. We want to tell the government say we as disabled not happy. Now already I was glad.
No glad.
We not happy because them picking and they go now find school and we all picking and not they go school. First then they push free for big and sleep. Then they sleep and find houses they will not get side for sleep. Under about police, some man has sleep and cartoon in the bread. Yes. I want to let them take this message to the government. Yes. If any help, we help SDG for carry we fight.
Disabled International Sierra Leone DIVSIL has extended helping hand to disabled with the donation of food and non-food items to disabled children at Waterloo. Mbambe Kadi Kamara is the Chief of Executive Office and founder of DIVSIL. She explained more in this interview.
To collaborate and commemorate the 55th independence anniversary for children living with disabilities, the orphans, and the less privileged. Theme of this program today is bringing smile on the faces of the underprivileged. Program went very, very well, which I'm very, very pleased because everybody was here, and as you witness, all of the children were so happy. I gave them food, drink, and some gifts which they are really, really, really happy about it. Community leaders in the area, the chief, and other stakeholders, they were so pleased for this project that I'm bringing to this community. And I'm really, really appreciate them for all their, because that's what I asked them to do, because I don't need anything from them. I only need prayers from them so that I can be able to.
20 news admin points again. Executive Director Global Fund has assured President Nkrumah of United Nations support to bring back the country to its pre-Ebola phase. An investors' conference on the ECO1 project in Sierra Leone has ended in Freetown. And new Chief of Defense Staff has promised the military of improved welfare. Well, that's all in this hour's news hour. Broadcast live on the SLBC in Freetown. On behalf of my news editor, Asmi Uba, I am Anmarie. For more information about our programs, do send us an email to www.contactus@slbc.sl www.contactus@slbc.sl. Thanks for watching. Have a pleasant evening.